Today's class, of course, is your basics class, which covers your setup and the actual AppFiles. Including AppFiles videos, I'll be doing a lot more segmented videos for AppFiles coming up. You'll notice the most recent 4 videos that I've added as of yesterday, actually, are how to set up your email signature in email.harrynorman, how to link your YouTube to Mia, how to add buttons to your website, and also how to add items to your menu on your website. So check them out. They're great. Subscribe to the channel so you see them as they come in. So anything to help y'all learn these programs is my goal, absolute goal. So, but let's get started. I'm so glad y'all could join me. Today I'm going to start off with going to My H&R Office. And to get to your AppFiles account, you'll notice Windows. In this window, at the very top, you have the button that's called Home, which brings you back to this window. You'll have My AppFiles. When you click on this, you'll notice that you have all of the previous AppFiles that you're working with, your requests that you send out. You can also resend as well. You'll be able to check the amount of signatures that have been made along with the initials. Okay. Your next is your My Inbox. This is not near 10. These are, they will populate here to let you know that, right? And then from your home window, you'll notice the window is set up very much the same. It's reiterating the buttons from your top navigation. You have your recently new app files on your right. You have your recent activity right here in the middle. You have your task up here at the top. You have the actions that are tied to app files. One last thing, you can also print out blank forms if you need them, where you can filter and search there for you to access. Count at the top left where it says upload a photo, you're going to click on this option. So at this point, we're just going to make sure that you have your headshot in your app files for your interaction with app files and the people that you work with. So from this window, you're going to click on your browse option. You are going to go and grab your headshot, which I have one in a folder to grab. You make it easier for yourself. Make sure it's on your desktop or in your My Documents so you can grab it. You're going to click Open. You'll notice that the headshot will show up here as an uploadable file. You'll click Start Upload. And then you'll see that your headshot, Harry Norman has sent it to you. Types of terminology. It's basically you're mirroring your Harry Norman email in the place of the AppFiles email. So for this setup and what I'm telling you about this is recommended by office managers. And if you run into any issues, please let me know. So the first thing right off the bat is you're going to copy my primary email address on all emails sent through AppFiles so that you receive a copy. Click check. That's a recommendation so that whenever you send something out, you get basically a copy saying, hey, you sent this. Another item is this box right here where it says spoof your email via AppFiles. You're basically putting this email address at the very top in the place of Lewis. Yes, of course, I know that. That's my agent. That's what that takes care of. Yes, you'll notice that it says it's sometimes considered spam. That encounter has not happened much that I know of. I mean, I've maybe heard once or twice. It's very, very rare. So I would recommend spoofing your email address. Okay, so that's your basic setup for your email and settings. Your next is your email footer. Now, this is something that I run into questions all the time with. Your goal is you're trying to get your signature from your email into AppFiles. You can do and refresh it a million times. So if you have any changes, email signature, you can just redo it. And the way to do this, at the top when you click on copy, you're going to copy this email address that's tied to AppFiles. By clicking this button, it actually tells you that you're copying this email address. Then you're going to bring up your email. You're going to create a face, whatever it is. You're going to open the way and you'll have a whole bunch of like weird text. To do this signature is to go into email.harrynorman.com and it doesn't in the formatting. You're going to click on buttons, settings, and all those. You can do this a million times. If you want to incorporate the Harry Norman logo in it, you can to AppFiles. Okay, I'll check back with you after the class, not a problem. All right, so the last thing that we need to cover is setting up your default mobile. So instead of it being on mobile view, not many people work from mobile views because it's not as easy to work with it as far as the documents and that's what you're working with. So I recommend setting it for full desktop view. It makes things so much easier. It just arranges the window better and more efficiently for your computer. It's usually the one that's already set up, so you should be okay. And that is your basic settings. Nothing crazy. It's a one-time setup for most people. Unless you get a new headshot, of course, you need to sub in your new headshot. All right, so do I have to come in during, okay? I'm gonna give the example so that you don't have to do it every time. So your form license information, your broker information, your address, your phone number, stuff like that, you're filling this stuff in advance. So then notice that there is a special steps option here as well, which you standard use on it is you're just making things easier for yourself in AppFiles. So the way to fill it in is you're going to click on this box and it's going to open a edit window. And this is where you're going to type in your special steps into this window for future use. Some people like to write special steps every time. I like to make my life easier. You know, termite bonds and stuff like that, I like to have them in advance. Once you've typed in this information, it's easy enough as a text window. You're going to click Save Changes, which will fill in this special steps window. Now, common information you already know, of course, is your broker, this right here, H-199 form values. So basically, you're doing your prereq for all of your items that show. I'm going to click Create New App File, this green button right here. This will open the window for a new app file. The first thing right off the bat is I'm going to put in a file name. So your file name is based on your contact that you have. So today, as you've guessed, I enjoy putting in musicians, and I am going to put in Brad Delp. Does anybody know who Brad Delp is and which band he is a part of? Come on, music people. Nobody? No looking it up, no Googling. Brad Delp is the lead singer of Boston. All right, so my file type is a buyer. So I'm going to switch this to buyer. All right, once again, AppFiles is all about pre-information, whatever you can fill in advance. So you already know that you are the H&R agent name. That's you. So I'm going to put in Drew Burr. You already know that you're representing a buyer. I'm going to click on buyer. So whatever information that you can pre-fill in at this moment, the more you know, the more you fill in, that makes it easier. Of course, click next. All right, the time part of a team. Say you're a husband-wife team, or you have someone that does coverage on your open houses or anything like that. Or for instance, if you have a mentor that you work with where you want them to check your work, you would click on the plus button right here. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see it. And you'll notice that they're added as a selected user. So they will see communications that are examples, testing how to use this does not hurt you. So I recommend it, of course. Get in here and try different ways of using AppFiles. They do not see it until you submit it. If you add a person, of course, they'll get the AppFiles. I don't think Adam wants to know about Brad Delp, so I'm going to take him off. And lastly, now that I have this gone, I'm going to create my app file. AppFiles. I'm going to add a form. So the whole point of this class is I'm going to show you the difference. This window will populate. Type in buyer, and I see my buyer brokerage to add to my AppFiles. Okay, pretty simple step. I'm adding documents that are within AppFiles into my AppFiles, this particular app file. And I'm going to select Add Selected Form. Pretty simple. Now you'll notice on the left side under General Paperwork, that the exclusive buyer brokerage has been added to this app file. And here's the document in front of you. So you can do whatever you need to do to this document at this moment, okay? And you're going to send it to your, it says request signature. I'm going to click on this request signature. When you scroll down, you'll see that it actually prompts you to, I'm going to, just so you know, that's the difference with using AppFiles. The signer's full name, make sure you write their full name, whether it's a junior, whether it's a third, make sure it's all in there. So make sure you have their correct name. So for this scenario, I am sending to Brad Delp, and he is my first buyer signature. When you scroll down, you click next to continue to send the request. In this scenario, you can actually, so by clicking this, you can make it as a requirement. But since I'm working with a buyer, you hope that your relationship is solid enough that you don't have to demand a timeline, I hope. So I'm just not going to select it this time, and I'm going to continue. So I got a quick question. It says, keep in general paperwork, when do you move it? So general paperwork the whole time until you submit your documents, when you send it to your actual staff members. It does not hurt anything, because the way I'm teaching this, you can merge documents. They'll be coming in from so many different directions, whether it's from email, whether it's just a document like this, or whether it's an upload. So keeping it in general paperwork is perfectly fine until you merge it and send it in and submit it. So it doesn't hurt anything. You use it in your own kind of file system. No, not a problem, of course. I'm going to click next, and here is the actual signature request line. Now, you can write your own private message to your individual. Your main thing you cannot change is stay away from this link that I just highlighted. This is the actual link to request the signature of Brad Delp. So you can write above it, below it, whatever you need to do, which is perfectly fine. Just stay away from that link, because that's what's the most important part to the signature request. You'll, of course, type in their email address, which I'm just going to put H&R Trainer as an example. And then lastly, you'll scroll down after you've made your comments. You'll click next for your signature request, another signature request. So that's a refresh the window. Your signature request, I actually hint on this in the next class later on this afternoon at 2, because a lot of people forget that they can track the progression of their signatures and their initials from their home window. And you can also resend from this actual tab. So your signature request. Go back to AppFiles in your home document by adding a form. I've sent for a signature request. My next item is I want to add some more documents to this AppFiles to cover all of my bases. So I'm going to go back to Add Forms, and documents that I know I'm going to need: loan contingency. And when you do this option, when there's multiple items on your right side, it merges those forms together. So they're one. You can also rearrange them as well in this window by clicking on this green line, and you can move the item above it or below it. 2 documents ready to file for Brad Delp. All right, so like I told you before, the most important part to this program is your values. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to import some values so that I can pre-fill in my purchase and sale. So to get started, I'm going to click on the Import Values option here at the top, which is the yellow button. Here, I'm going to show it one more time. And it's because it requires a lot more pre-planning on your part. So I want to cover the basic information, like the forms that we just free-filled in, and of course, grabbing information from FMLS. So I'm going to get started by doing import from a form. When you click on this option, you'll notice that the items that you have filled in your form values here, I'm going to start my import. Okay, and so those that I had pre-filled in. Nothing crazy. I'll go over it again. I think I just got a quick question. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I have a little bit of a lag. I apologize for that, which is unusual because I'm at the corporate office. So I'll take it slow and kind of refresh for you. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. So I'll do this again too as well. So I'm going to click done. Let's start over the process. One here that I have added a form for AppFiles right here. Information from these. You'll notice that I have my buyer brokerage as a selectable form to pull in values from. My goal is to get those 11 values into the purchase and sale. From here, I'm going to click choose. And you'll notice here are the 11 items that I am importing from this form into my document. I will click the green button at the bottom that says start import. And those have been completed. The great thing about this window is I can do a second import. Okay, so, or another, you can do all three honestly from this window. But I'm going to click on perform another import. This time I'm going to import from FMLS. I'm going to click on the item, the button next to it that says import from FMLS, and you'll notice this window populates. Now, in advance, I went ahead and selected a listing for 2362. It's pending, so I can still work with it for a little bit longer, but it's information from here. I'll leave this window for a quick second if you're following along so you can copy this number as an example. It's 62362 Montview Drive Northwest. This is, I believe, Price Curtis's listing. So I'm going to copy this FMLS number. I'm going to go back to my app file, that FMLS number, search results. Okay. Since I have this listing now populated, I'm going to click choose. And you'll notice these are the imported form values that are being pulled in from the listing, so you do not have to write it in. That doesn't seem right, and you start your import. Perfect, because I want to pull, and then I'm going to click sale degree, which you don't have to write at all. Do I, this afternoon's class I want to cover? Of course. Let me double check. I just got a quick question. Let me check it real quick. Oh, you are right. My class is at 1 o'clock. I apologize. I thought it was 2. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, so what we're doing now is we're going to be bringing in documentation into AppFiles from another source. And since we used Price Curtis's listing as an example, I'm going to go back to that resource and I'm going to grab documentation from this listing. To do so, you'll notice on FMLS, under the photo of the listing, there is what's called agent. If you're pulling information from, ask you which one you would like to use. So it's making sure that you're putting the right data in the right field. Documents underneath the listings image, which brings up your RDocs window. You'll notice that I have 5 items. In my opinion, there is 3 different ways to get these items into your app files. I'm going to cover the very first one, which is pretty straightforward. When you click on the item checkbox and you hit this drop down, there's an option called print. I'm going to click print for this lead-based paint. All right, so this just opened up the lead-based paint. PDF of this lead-based paint has been saved to my computer. Notice the file is where it goes, which, and I'm going to click Start Upload. It confirms at the top, OK. Do I have any questions on a standard upload to AppFiles? So I will admit, sometimes it's different, but I can't remember how to exactly save as from that scenario. But you need to save this document to your desktop. So you're going to download and save it to your desktop so that you can upload to your app files. There's just too much your photos, how to condense it into a PDF. There's many ways to use this, but yes, it does save lives really. So I save this to my desktop. I'll upload file option, instead of it do blah 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 blah, I'm going to delete this and I'm going to put in Brad Delp. So it's easier for me to remember. Email address into their phone, so it's easy access. Just think of how this email address will basically save you when you're out and about. Makes things easier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this email address. See the little checkbox that showed up? I'm copying it, and there's a reason. I'm going to go back to my RDocs, and you'll notice that I have 4 more items that I need to get into AppFiles. The legal description, floor plans. I will point out this line. So now I have the email address. With this email address, I'm going to click send. I'm going to give it a few minutes to finish processing. So what I'm literally doing is I am emailing all these documents from RDocs into my AppFiles for my usage. I'm going to come back to the Brad Delp folder. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, but you're going to click the refresh button. And you'll notice documents are now inside. Any quick questions about how I just did that? All right, so now we have covered the 3 different ways of bringing documents, because the other way is that you can do one at a time. You can send one item in as a time or as a group from RDocs. You could have just done one and emailed it in as well. But I have my documents in. Oops, I'm going to bring back up my Brad Delp app file. And okay, so my next step now is I want to show you. So I'm going to click on the blue button on the right side of you, is that it wants to make it into an editable file. So yes, you need to convert it. So I'm going to start by starting the conversion because it was just a PDF that I believe he scanned in. It's going to start converting it. I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee, sorry. All right, so now you notice that this document now has elements available to work on this file. Add text cursor now. We're going to create it. You can align it, you can make the B. I'm going to create, and you'll notice that this item is now showing up as an element. Now, if you need to move this element or delete it, you click on it once, and see how these 2 elements just popped up? View element properties, which means you could change the font, make it bold. You can click and drag the item wherever you need it to go. And for an OCD person like myself, I want to make sure that A is right on that line. Perfect. So now my element is in place. Oh, is extreme delay? I'm sorry. I'll do it one more time. It's very unusual because I'm here at corporate. All right, I'll do that one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this item. Okay, let me take it a little bit slower. So what I'm doing is do you need me to start over to the actual editing of this page, or was it the elements that got slowed down? Edit button. Okay, since I've converted, I'm going to go to my left side where it says add new element, and I'm going to click on the text option button. It tells you at the top that there's a current. It also gives me to put my cursor on top of where I want to place it. Font size, make it bold, all are available. I'm going to create this item, and you'll notice the element has now been the font size, bold, whatever. You can change those, or you can actually delete it. The next option I want to cover is adding an initial. To add an initial, you have to start off by selecting a role of the initial that you're adding. When you click on the drop down, If I want to add a buyer initial to this document, you're going to select buyer initial. You can select the display date and display time. Then you can click on place the initial, which adds the element with a cursor. Once again, your cursor is available. You can put it wherever you'd like. You just click down and a buyer initial element has been added to your document. Okay. Next item to cover is adding a signature. There's many options for the roles, just so you know. If you need multiple, you can add multiple down for placing an initial. I'm going to select the role for adding a signature. I'm going to say buyer signature. Once again, place signature, and I am sure, not a problem. I'll do it again. Once again, this is an element that I can own it once. So if I want to delete these from the beginning. So for instance, for adding an initial line, I did the drop to place initials, which gives me that element to use. One more time with the adding the signature, I've selected the role. I selected buyer and signature as my role. I click on the blue button that says place signature, which creates the element. I put my cursor on the document and I click down. With this is I would get a document like this and I would try using all of the different elements on your screen and get accustomed to clicking on it and moving it, deleting elements, changing the properties. Just get comfortable with it so that you could do this in a fly. That's the goal. Adding elements is very simple once you do it once or twice. Of course, you already know, which puts a get in here, try the different elements, delete it, just as simple as that. Now that I've done this, you can save it, but these, and you'll see another item. Let me make sure. This is something that I go over in my advanced class, is the merging and separate all the time. To do this action, you'll notice up here on the left side where it says merge paperwork. When you click on merge paperwork, the documents that you currently have in this app file populate on your left side. To merge the documents, all you have to do is select them, which will push them over to your selected forms. So for instance, I'm going to grab my purchase and sale agreement. I'm going to click on my legal description. I am going to add my lead-based paint. I have new lines to move the order of documents. Once you have all your, and then your merged document will be on your left side under general paper. Okay. Do I need to go over merging documents again? Just making sure. It's pretty straightforward. There's a tool at the top left, here I'll close it, that says merge paperwork. When you click on it, it'll show you your documents and forms that are tied to your app files. You select which documents you'd like to merge. They show up in this square right here. And then you merge your selected items together. Now, this isn't a permanent scenario. If you want to split up your documents, you would bring up the document by clicking on it, where it could go, general paperwork, whatever, to separate from your merged document, or you can select all of them if you'd like. If you want to just go ahead and split them all, that was hard to say. Once again, I'm going to select my phone contingency. It's pretty fun once you get used to doing that, I won't lie. It is a lot of fun. Okay, so now that I have my files completely merged together, I'd like to split them up, or not split them up, but I'd like to rearrange them. Okay, and the way to do this is up here on the top, you'll see that it says Edit Pages. When you click on Edit Pages, this option gives you several opportunities to move your pages where you need to move them. The most basic, so the way I call this is this file is in segments. See, purchase and sale is a segment. You have your legal description as a segment. This segment, okay? So in this scenario, I can move the whole segment where I need to move it. So for instance, this conventional loan contingency, if I want it to be my second option, you click and drag it up. Very simple. Any page can be moved or segment can be moved. Once you have it in the exact order that you'd like, you would save changes, and now your document is in the order that you'd like. Do I have any questions about the edit pages option? It's pretty awesome, I won't lie, especially if you're just adding a whole bunch of documents really quickly. Like in the very first step where I was adding forms, you could add all your forms and then come back and just move the arrangement of the document. It's just getting comfortable with doing that. All right. So of course you would do this, especially when you are trying to label your exhibits. You wanted everything to be in the right order so that you can label your exhibits the correct way. My next option that I want to cover, I'm going to go back to edit fields. So say field our client for review. Okay, we're going to send this full. Okay, so to do so, at the top where it says send via email, you're going to send via email a PDF of this document. Message, you can write something like please send for signature, something like that, or something long. Of course, you're going to have a better conversation with your client. Then you would put in your you'd put in their email address. This for review. So you're sending for proofing. And that email has been sent off for review. Okay. I know this is a lot of information to take in, of course. I don't want to go too far into the weeds. But one thing I do want to go over, which is of course different in every office, is how you submit your documents. Now, I have to teach this in a generic way, but what I would recommend is when you're ready to submit your documents, whether it's a new pending or whether you need to submit your buyer brokerage signature, kind of follow along, but the truth is you might want to ask your office staff how they would like to receive it. So for instance, when you're submitting your buyer brokerage agreement, I'm going to bring it open real quick and say, you want to actually rename this document before you submit it. Up here, there's a pencil mark for this buyer brokerage. Whatever naming convention you would like to use, please do. Say I want to name this Brad Delp buyer brokerage. However you plan to name it, whatever naming convention your office has agreed on, do what you need to do that. You click on the green checkbox, which reassigns the new name to this document. The way that I teach to submit your buyer broker, so you're submitting your broker to your broker this buyer brokerage agreement. You would close this down, and what I would recommend is sending have submitted a buyer or whoever. Open communication is very important with AppFiles and your staff members. So you would type in I've submitted, and then down here you would select your office staff member with a check and create updates so they know that the submission has been made. I just received a question. It says, when splitting documents or merging, how do we manage the order? Is merges or splits? How do we manage the order? I don't understand your question. I apologize. Oh, of course. Well, I mean, you can actually do that in the last thing I time. So this is your basic submission plus adding an update under your create an update to let your staff members know that you have submitted. So I'll go back and cover that item you want at the top. I just want to make sure I'm covering it correctly. So this is a merged document that I'm rearranging. Okay, go in there and test that. You know, create in the organized forms option, and you'll have it down to a pat. Like you'll have it. Then you save changes. Your contract option area office. You'll come up to the very top of your app file as a whole, and you will click Edit. You will change your file name to whatever naming convention that your office or you use. My example here is I'll put it as an offer. And I'm going to change my file type. I need to move this out of my way to new pending. And that would be my submissions, but that's just how I was taught to teach it. That would submit your offer, and then you'd click close, and it will go into their hands. I also recommend when you submit your app, it's a bit of a long class. Our H&R Trainer account have at least sold a home or have had a buyer before. I would recommend testing using AppFiles. Bring in that exact scenario that you've had before and make and test AppFile, and then send it to your staff members to review and tell them that this is a test and that you're just reviewing how to use AppFiles, and make sure that you've done it correctly. Of course, you don't want to continue to do the wrong thing forever without knowing better. So this is a great way to test this, get comfortable with it, add your files, create your app file, and submit it. Do I have any quick questions towards the end of the class? Of course, my second class is at 1. I cover a little bit different of a scenario. I will be checking some items that brokers have asked me to review, and then I will also go into what I call a template in AppFiles, creating a template and using your master buyer template. Of course, absolutely. Yeah, if you ever need me, I am available. If it's not during one of my classes, of course. I hope y'all got something new. If you've already been using AppFiles, I hope that you gained something new that will help you. Or just if it's a refresher, I hope that you've gained something out of this class. And I hope I entertained, seriously. Everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll stay around for a little bit longer for questions. Have a wonderful day and stay healthy, please.